Hi, Susan Norwell here. Just trying to give you some ideas of what to do when you're hunkered down at home with your kiddos. It's going to have two parts. First, you're going to go up to the top of this post, and you're going to see the website that I'm going to be looking at, which is classroommagazines.scholastic.com. They have been kind enough to give a lot of free materials during this time when parents are having to be home with their children. So first thing I would do is scroll down when you get there and sign up for new teaching resources. So they're going to send you an email when they have new teaching resources. Unless you're just sick of receiving emails, then you can just check back whenever you want to. Then I'm going to divide this into two parts. The first part is, as I'm going to go through each of these 4 grade levels, I'm going to show you some activities, giving you some ideas of what you can do and what's available. And there's a lot of things that are available here. And then I'm going to shift to putting up a few of these activities on my computer with a device sitting next to me, or soft tech options, or yes no cards, just a variety of things to kind of show you what you could do when you're actually doing the activity. So there is the knowing what's available, number 1. That's the easier part. Then there's number 2. Okay, Susan, I know what's available. Now, how the heck am I supposed to do this with my kiddo? And that's what we are going to do next. Okay, I'm going to check on the PreK Kindergarten. And when I check on the PreK Kindergarten, it takes me to various days. Right now they are up to day 5, but it says stay tuned, 15 more days are ahead. And when I looked at the kindergarten, it all has about a similar format, so I think that's helpful for us. It has a book that reads to you, that you watch like a video, and then it has a book that you would read to them. This one being a fiction, and this one being a nonfiction. This is actually a really great literacy strategy, which is why I like Scholastic. I am not saying that all of these are going to be the most interesting books your kids ever read or ones they like, but when you have a lot of options, like Planting a Rainbow is a great book. It could still be a flower. I've read that one. Is Your Mama a Llama? Great. And Animal Babies. Happy Birthday Moon. I love that book. And then there's a factual book about a moon. And then the book, and then it's spring. I'm not familiar with that book. I did read this book. I found it enchanting. It might not be so enchanting for other kids. The video roundup, the videos are great. There's a lot of facts in them, but there's a lot of action. And then there are some movement and measurement activities that may not be as good for our kids as they would be for other people. Depends on how mobile they are. One of the things about the factual books is that if you go, once you get into where the books are, they have some puzzles and games you can play. So you can watch the story, read the story, then there's word match.
Read the clue below. Click on the word it matches.
Okay, so
match all the words to uncover a picture.
All right, so here's
a cage for small animals.
That's the clue. And now you can use Partner Assist to be able to figure this out. So I'm going to take you through some of these when we're actually sitting down doing it so I can show you. But actually, a lot of these activities on the side are doable as long as you figure out how to adapt it and make it work. So welcome to the start. I'm just going back. And really, I just want to get to the remote learning site. I keep clicking back on this. I'm having a little trouble with getting back to where I start from when I'm doing these. So just keep that toolbar open at the top, and then you can click on it. So that's how the kindergarten preschool books are set up. I would say that these are much more appropriate to kindergartners than they are to preschoolers, to be honest, in my mind, based on my favorite little people that I work with that are that age. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. There we go. We're back to the beginning. And now I'm going to choose grades 1 and 2. Okay, grades 1 and 2, again, similar format. Diary of a Spider, great book. And then there's a nice book that I've actually seen a lot of their books that are from their newsletter that they used to send out that are really good. Great graphics, great explanations. Don't feel like you've got to read and do everything on day 1 in day 1. You can spread this stuff out, but I would stay within the theme. So if you're doing spiders and you decide to divide it up in 2 days, that's fine. I wouldn't read the Diary of a Spider book and then the Come On Rain book. I mean, I would try to keep it within the the theme for a couple of reasons. One is you are going to build some connections between what's happening in the fiction and the nonfiction. That's great. You can build connections between what you've read, what you see in the video, build connections between what you see in the video and some of the games that you're going to be playing. But the other thing for our kids that I think is particularly important is you're going to be modeling similar language. And what we really want to do is what Karen Erickson talks about and David talk about as repetition with variety. So here we are talking about spiders and what they might look like and how they might crawl. And we're going to get a chance to use those words in Diary of a Spider and in A Spider Grows Up and in the movie about the spider and in the games we play about spiders. So we're getting these really nice abilities to do this kind of cross fertilization. And also, I will tell you, for the most part, particularly if your kids are being schooled in a special education class versus the general education environment, they're not getting a lot of science. They're not getting a lot of this. They might be read to, but they're not getting a lot of, I'm going to share the reading with you, I'm going to show you the print, and I'm going to teach you about science content, or I'm going to teach you about history content. They're not getting a lot of that. Here's one about weather. Here's one about sound. Here's one. Oh gosh, I love this book, Giggle Giggle Quack. Oh my gosh, that is like a great, great book. All of these books by Doreen Cronin are absolutely hysterical. Then Living on Farms, and then one about dem bones. Dem bones are gonna rise again, dem bones. So who doesn't like a little Halloween thrown into their March? I just don't know who would not like that. So let's go back. Hopefully I'm getting to the front page. I am, because I really don't have to go through these side, every single thing. I will do a little bit more of that when I'm doing the other part. Grades 3 to 5. All right, so this is pretty cool. So day 1, look at this. If this isn't good for some of our kids who are in this 3rd grade to 5th grade, but even older, meet a teen changing how the world views disabilities and nothing can stop her. Wow, what a cool video that we're going to be watching. That is really good. We're also going to be looking at Whales in the City, Hottest and Coldest Places, and Hangin' Tough. So we've got a lot of article-based reading in the 3rd to 5th grade. Again, that's when kids start transitioning from reading to read to reading to learn. So again, in our special education classrooms, very little of this is being done. There's a lot of daily living junk going on where our kids can't participate because they can't use their hands, and not so much of this learning. So again, if your kiddo is not used to doing this kind of work, you might piece it in a little bit at a time. Day 2, why do zebras have stripes? Oh, pretty cool. Secrets about our first president. Fiction, clean start, how a boy. So here again, we have fiction, nonfiction, so that we're sliding between the two. I love the photographs of these real kids. Muddy moves. Ooh, that looks good. Day 3, virtual tour of a field trip to the American Revolution. Oh, look at, I love these little guys. They are so cute. Oh my goodness. And Domino Designer. Lots of articles about kids, which I think is really good. Oh, I'm not so sure. This would be one of my favorite things to read, but I am sure there are kids out there that will like to learn why some kids are eating burger bugs. I've got to just flip right past that before I get nauseous. And then talking about school trash collector, Amira's, again, a fiction book along with nonfiction. So really rich literacy and content material that we're going to have access to free for the duration of this isolation that we're all in. Grades 6 to 9, they actually picked up that celebrating differences. They actually picked up that article again, which is great. Cozy camouflage, the future of zoos. Are zoos still a good idea? Well, if they have giraffes, I think so. I just learned a whole bunch about giraffes I never knew because my personal trainer went to a zoo where the lady just kind of picked him out of the blue, probably because they were the only ones there, because it was like the week before this whole corona thing broke, and gave them so much information about giraffes, I was dumbfounded. I will give you one piece of information. One, giraffes actually do make sounds. They are just so low that our ears can't pick them up. I don't mean low like soft. I mean low, that our ears can't hear them. But they actually talk to each other. They do. Yep, yep, yep. And if you see a bunch of giraffes together, they're all males. That's another tidbit for you. I won't get into all the details about males and why that is, because it might be too old for some of our ears. Okay, so getting to know a canine, robot dog versus a real dog. Ooh, search for a Loch Ness monster. How well do you know you? Travel back in time, meeting some girl heroes of the American Revolution. Anytime I can read about girl heroes getting a shout out, woo, I am so happy. Look at this, not so far away, when the Star Wars saga was filmed. That is so cool. We can look at where they filmed it. I'm a big Star Wars fan. And then Escape from Alcatraz. Ooh, that looks like a creepy place. But look at this butterfly vision. Whoa, that is beautiful. So there is a lot of content here. And what I'm going to do in the next section is I am going to go through some of these activities in these books, show some modeling from each of the groups, and ways that you could set it up to be effective with your kiddos. Here's a tidbit. If you have people that are older than, like they're saying here, grades 6 to 12, okay, that's what this last group is about, grades 6 and up. I have found even my adults that have not spent a lot of time being educated really love learning about new things. That nonfiction to them is fascinating because they really haven't had a lot of this content. So don't just go by the ages, go by the interest level or the interest of your kiddo. I think that could make a huge difference. David Copenhaver, you know, there was this big thing that was out a while ago that we had to make everything age appropriate. And so we had kids that, you know, had real cognitive disabilities, not like our girls with Rett syndrome, but real cognitive disabilities, having to read, you know, World War II textbooks in history. And what he said is they should be interest appropriate. Now, that isn't to say I'm going to let a 20-year-old be reading about, you know, Grover and, you know, Sesame Street ad nauseum. But I'm going to find things, if that's where their interest is, then I'm going to find books like Diary of a Spider, which has a lot of cool graphics in it that look a lot like a Sesame Street story, but give me some higher level things to think about. So hopefully this part helps you, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to set up and show you how to do some of these activities with your kiddo. All right, thanks. Bye. Hi, here I am again. You're not going to see me. You might see my hand moving in and out, but that's about it. I have this set up so you could see what it would look like if I was going to use it with a kiddo who had some really good mobility in terms of just head movement. So I can have their device in front of them if that's what they're used to, and I could have the computer off to the side for them to be looking at. Vice versa. I could have the computer in front of them and their device angled off to the side if they can do that. What I'm going to be doing with you is I am going to be doing the third option, which is move the video or the book or the screen in front of them to look at, then take it away so that we can communicate. I'm doing this so it'll be easier for you to see, because I can make the image bigger for you to see what's going on. But I would also use this for kids who have a hard time, focusing on two screens at once, like they don't know what to look at first. Two, for kids where that amount of motor movement back and forth would just tax them, and I don't want to use that up. I don't want to use that stamina up on them moving between two things if I don't have to. Okay, so here we go. What I want you to understand is that pre-K and kindergarten and grades 1 and 2 activities are set up exactly the same way. I'm going to model one in the pre-K kindergarten section, but you could do the same things if you were reading a grade 1 or grade 2 with your kiddos. And to tell you the truth, I would worry about, not worry, but I would kind of look at what they're most engaged in. I think that is what we need to do, is let's forgive ourselves here. Let's give ourselves a lot of grace. Most of you are not teachers that are going to be looking at this, or if you are teachers, you've never done this before. And so what I would like you to do is just kind of have fun and not worry about being perfect, because Lord knows none of us are. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to scroll down week 1. I'm going to take a look at planting a rainbow. These have been taking not very long to load on this end, but it might take a little longer to load on this end only because lots of people are using them. So if you take a look at this book, it does a really nice job. It's got some music. Every year, Mom and I plant a rainbow. In the fall, we buy some bulbs and plant them in the ground. Oh, you know what? I am thinking, and you don't have to worry about conjugation here if you don't want to. I'm thinking that this book is going to be about, all word lists, it's going to be about nature, and then we're going to be looking at some plants that people are planting. Some plants, and maybe even some fruits that are being planted, and some flowers, different flowers that are being planted. And it seems to me that since the name of the book, see, I'm giving a little bit of talk about what's coming up. Since this book has the title Rainbow in it, I'm going to go to all word list weather. Here's some weather words. And find the word rainbow. Now, since we're going to have a rainbow book, something tells me we're going to do a lot about colors. So when we look at school, and we look at school topics, and we look in art, I'm betting we're going to have something about colors. I'm sure there's lots of ways to get to colors on this in SNAP, but that's a pretty easy way. That was a logical way for me to figure it out. And you can read the book, and then let's say every couple of pages you can just pause and you can just point out some text. You can point it out by using point out some words, some language. The other thing is you could use this as something for your kiddo to watch just on their own. Some independent reading, which would be a great thing, because if you're trying to juggle 3 and 4 kids in their schoolwork, you might need your kiddos to have some things that they could do independently. Now, what I would focus on, and what I'm going to ask you to focus on for all of these lessons, are 2 things. One would be vocabulary, and the second would be talking about things before they happen, talking about things as they happen, talking about them after they happen. So I just showed you a little bit about talking about what I think is going to happen in this book based on the title, and it might go a little bit further. And grow and grow. Now I might get to a page like this and say, oh my goodness, I think I was right. Clear so I can get to the R. I was right. I did a very good job in thinking about this book. But now, if I need to be a little gentler on myself and not going all over the place, I've got a lot of core words. I like that. I like that picture. I can stay right in core. I think. Good, bad descriptors, one hop. I think that is beautiful. Let's not make ourselves crazy as we're trying to do school and language and do whatever else we're trying to do. Some of us are trying to work at the same time. So my advice would be to have a good time, and you could use this for independent reading also, which would be great. Let's look at same thing if you were doing a 1st, 2nd grade book. Same exact thing. Okay, we're going to go back. And now we can look at the book that you would read with them. And this is where the vocabulary work comes into place. So the cool thing here is I can make it a read aloud. I don't want to. I want to use this book for something else. I really want to use it for that vocabulary development. And look what I get in terms of tools up at the top. I get a zoom in. So if I even want to make the print bigger. And I can read. And again, when I'm reading these books, I'm going to think about print processing. All I want my kids to do is realize you start at the left and you go to the right. Do you have there's a yellow word. You know what I did is I wrote all these yellow words out on cards for us so that we could remember them. Do you have a favorite kind of flower. Favorite. Oh my gosh, I would help them do 3 claps. This word is pretty long compared to this word. It's got 3 claps, 3 syllables. Favorite. Do you have a favorite kind of flower? You can get in a yes or no. Do you have a favorite kind of flower? Whoops, I have to bring this back for you. You could go onto their device. Remember where I showed you where we went to all word lists, nature, wild plants, flowers. Doesn't even matter what they hit. You could hit anything, and they could say,
Daffodil.
wow, daffodil. You know what? Maybe we'll look that up and we'll look at some pictures of daffodils later. Let me write that down. Get a little sticky note, make a note, show them how you write the word daffodil, and you go look it up later. And now you've done a lot of literacy things you didn't even know were literacy things, but they are. All right, second page. Maybe you like roses. Maybe you like roses. I like roses. Roses can be different colors like pink, red, or yellow. Some roses smell sweet. Oh, I have to tell you, again, I'm going to stick in my core words here. I like that. I like that. Or if you wanted to get fancy, go to pronouns. I like them.
Them.
I like them. I like roses. I think they are beautiful. Or I think they are the perfect flowers. Or I think I like when I get them for really special days. There we go. So, really fast. I'm just going through these so you can see. I'm going to go out of full screen. I'm going to go back to that link, back to that tab I kept open. And now we're going to look at a video. There's a video about plants, and there's some vocabulary about plants. Okay, then we could go on and we could watch the video. And after you watch the video, there are keywords that they're going to learn in the video. Grow, nutrients, soil, leaves, roots, stem. And there's a quick quiz after they use the video. So which sentence is true? Roots go up and down and stems grow, roots grow down and stems grow up. Yes or no? Whoops, I got to get this a little bit closer. So, yes or no? Stems grow down or roots grow up? Yes or no? So there's a little quiz that goes after the video, which I think could be fun for some kids to do. Some kids that are not your most willing workers with you in the beginning, I wouldn't worry about the quiz. I would take the quiz myself. And that is a great strategy for kids who are anxious. Oftentimes I go to give the answer to something in a quiz, and they're already looking at the yes, no ahead of me, and I went, oh my gosh, you got there before me. So it helps sometimes to take the pressure off to just do it ourselves. When we're done with one of the books, if we'd like, we can go to this start button. See the start button that's sitting right here? When we go to the start button, it's got to watch the story, read the book, word match. So let's take a look at word match.
Read the clue below. Click on the word it matches. Match all the words to uncover a picture.
So
short woody bushes.
So short woody bushes. So what's another name for bushes, kids? I mean, come on, let's think about this. We got to think. So, do you think it's soil is another name for a short woody, made out of wood bush, or shrubs? Shrubs. And again, I have these two very close together just because of where I'm sitting and where the camera's sitting so it can get close to the screen. You can put this in the middle and say, you know, is it soil? Is that what a bush is a soil? Yes or no? Is it a shrub? Same kinds of ways you can set up questions no matter if we're doing the first or we're doing the 8th grade reading. Very, very simple.
Soil.
Now, if you don't have the energy to even write things out on a card, say, hey, we're going to look here. Do you think that these woody bushes are called favorite? Yes or no? Are they called shrubs? Yes or no? Are they called soil? We can just do partner-assisted scan right from the screen.
Favorite.
Which is great. All right. So that's just some word matching. And again, I would read the words to them if they're older and you think that they can figure out the answer using the first letter. Then I would put like soil and bloom as choices because they start with different letters. Think of the word you're thinking of and then see if you can figure out which word starts that way. Now, if they're excellent readers, then you can put any word up there you want for them to be able to read. Okay, so that's for our first, that's a way that we could do our first, second, third, all the way up to I think fourth is the next breakout. There is the thing here where they're going to talk about eating plant parts, and you can try it for free. So it just gives you a little bit of a quiz that you can do. Oh, let's not do that. Activate later. Oh, it's really not letting you try it out for free. So we're going to, oh, here's a free trial, right? There you go, free trial if you want to try it out for free. They have it there for you. Okay, so let's go back to where we were, to the very, very beginning, up at the top. Click on this. And that's going to take us to our grades 3 to 5. So what I just did for pre-K kindergarten grades 1 and 2 can go across both those levels. Talk about the book before you read it in terms of what you think it's going to be about. Go through it and see if you're right. Take a look at key vocabulary that they're using. Maybe you can zoom in if you want so that you can take a look at it. You can put some vocabulary, the key vocabulary they have highlighted on cards or index cards because they're going to have a quiz about that later if you choose to do it. Talk about the book after the fact. We don't do that enough. We really need to talk about it after the fact. That applies to all 4 of these. So let's look at grades 3 and 5, and I'm going to show you some very interesting features that they have here. So grades 3 and 5 do not have as much, they don't have that split between fiction and nonfiction. What they do have is a lot of articles, and they do have an occasional nonfiction. So let's look at day 1, and we're going to look at this story about this teen changing the world of disabilities. It's called Nothing Can Stop Her. So I'm not going to go through the whole story with you because I think that would be a waste of time. What I'm going to show you is what you've got here on the side in terms of resources that could really help you bring the curriculum, bring the story to your kiddo. So we're going to open up magazine view. That's like the top option. And thank you to Courtney for pointing this out to me. You can now, it looks just like a regular magazine, kind of cool for kids. I mean, it's just perfect. But if it were me reading it with a student, I would say, oh gosh, this is a little too small. So I'm going to enter full screen so it gets my computer junk out of the way. And I am going to zoom in. Zoom, zoom. And before you and I got together, I was playing with the highlighter, so I decided that I would highlight this first paragraph, okay? So here's the title of our story, kids. Nothing can stop her. Jordan Reeves was born with a disability, but she says her difference doesn't hold her back. It makes her amazing. Well, let's read that first paragraph, and let's see if we can figure out what's going on with Jordan in terms of her disability. Now I'm hitting the zoom again. So I'm making this print pretty darn big. Okay. So that it would be really easy for a lot of my kids to be able to, I think that's about as far as I can zoom in, yeah. And I can do the read aloud.
Cover story. Nothing can stop her. Jordan Reeves was born with a disability, but she says her difference doesn't hold her back. It makes her amazing. When Jordan Reeves was 8 years old, she couldn't wait to start a new dance class. But as she was warming up, she noticed that some...
Okay, so I could have it be reading aloud, or I can turn my sound off, and all it's going to do is keep highlighting. I have some girls that are really excellent readers, some kiddos that I work with that are really excellent readers. I cannot change the speed of the cursor, but I could offer them the opportunity to read that a couple of times without me having to read it, and they could probably do it. So I think it's really important for us to just know what are our options here. So I could go back in, and I'm going to go to get rid of read aloud. I'm going to get rid of it. And there's my highlighter. And now I'm going to put my highlighting, I think, in the garbage. Move all the highlights. Yep, I want to remove all the highlights. Because I'm going to point out to them, we're trying to figure out what's going on with their disability. Maybe I just want to highlight whoops. There we go. Highlight, highlight, highlight. Maybe I just want to go in and give them the clue about why. And so I can also go through this story, and if there are certain words that I would like them to know, like, oh, how cool is this? Prosthetic, which describes a device used to replace a missing body part, or a mentor, someone who gives you advice or guidance, those might be words that I would put on my cards that I would use later when I'm asking questions. But I could do the same thing about asking questions about the story in general. So I'm going to zoom out now because I can't read the rest of the paragraph. And I can go through. And it might be that what we do is just read one paragraph. We talk about it. We talk about it. And maybe it brings out a lot of feelings. It's like, you know what? I feel kind of sad for her.
Sad.
Yeah, why was everybody looking at her? Questions. Why? 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 Why isn't it here? Time questions. Well, I would have why here, because I think that why is a pretty important question. So, I'm going to look for it. I'm going to look for why. If something, oh, there it is. It's right on the front page. Oh, silly me, silly me, silly me. I forget there's a core questions.
Why?
Why? Why are they? Why are they looking? Why are they looking at her? Common. Why are they watching her? Why are they looking at her? And again, it probably was on that page that I just went past, because I have to tell you, this is the one that really is hardest on my eyes to figure out. Oh, looking.
Look.
Why are they looking at her? And you know what? It might be a time where kids start to say, me that.
That.
Yeah, I've noticed that people look at me. People look at me. Little words. People look at me. Let's look for that at. I no longer recommend any language system that doesn't have a search button. Main list, little words. There it is.
It.
At me. Little words.
It.
At me. I was actually looking just for the word at and not the at sign. There's where I got puzzled. So it really is, I think, a great story to read